Howdy y'all, I am Ice Cold, and this is my second time recording this because my mic loves to disconnect and not get picked up by OBS, and I only realized it after recording for 18 minutes and 39 seconds. So, today, we're talking about the barrier to entry for WizPev, and how it's gotten somehow even higher than it was before. So, there's a couple things that I want to go over, primarily spellement acquisition and gear farming, and oh boy, there's a lot to cover there. Let's just go ahead and start off with spellements. It's like this is something that I've wanted to talk about. It is the 1 year anniversary of the first time I talked about this, and that video sort of did blow me up. So let's go ahead and talk about spellements again. So spellements, right? The Arc 1 spellements, they were already a disaster. I went over this in the video a year ago, and you just have to sit there and mindlessly farm forever to get them, and it's like you spend about 12 hours around there. I think that's a generous estimate. So say about 12 hours in total to get these spells up to tier 5. So something like, you know, Triton, which is a really good hit for 6 pips for a storm, as you can no doubt tell. You need to farm Boros Blackrock for 12 hours straight. Or not straight, but you need to farm Boros Blackrock for 12 hours in order to get this, and like all the way up to 920, because you're losing damage if you don't, and that's just Wiz for you. So Triton, yeah, it's like farming spellements. It just takes so long, and that's just a big issue that I have. It hasn't gotten better. This is one of those things that has gotten worse over the past year, and like, yeah, I mean, Arc 1 spellements, y'all already knew this though, if y'all watched the one from a year ago, but just farming these spellements for like 12 hours, it can be like on and off, but it's so mind-numbing, and it's just really unfortunate that this is a thing in the game. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of just hard to describe. Like, it's like, why is it like this? It's like, why aren't there either better ways to acquire them, or it's like, why can't we just, why does it have to be 685 total spellements? Like let's just look at this. So to unlock it is 35, and then to take it from tier 1 to tier 2, you have to get 75. So 75 plus 115, which is to get it from tier 2 to tier 3, that is 190, and then it's 190 to get it from tier 3 to tier 4, so it's 380, and then to get it all the way up to tier 5, you need 305, so that is 685. And if you're like, just to unlock a spell, and this applies to lore spells mostly, you don't really need to worry about that for train spells, like, you know, lightning bats and all of that, but for a lore spell that you can only acquire with spellements, that adds an extra 35 to it, so that is 720 total spellements to get a spell from dead all the way up to tier 5, and it is quite the venture, and it's exacerbated if you are trying to get a spell, a certain spell on more than one character. It's like I'm trying to get Max Berry on my Storm, because it's a pretty good heal, and then I also want to use Berry Surprise on my Fire because I have a strategy that makes use of it. So trying to get, you know, 1,440 spellements for Berry Surprise from a gold key boss, by the way, that's already just horrible. And if I ever want to do that on my Life Wizard, that's 2,160 spellements. Like bro, like bro, and it's. I will say, the one thing in terms of spellements that's gotten better over the last year is the fact that gold key portals were introduced in the summer update, and that has really helped a lot of people get their spellements up, and that's for lore spellements, by the way. It doesn't apply to Arc 2 or Beast Moon or Arc 1 or any of that, but for the lore spellements, it is very useful to go to key portals and just farm them up, go get what you need, and you know, it's a nice little community event, and I think that's really, really great. But it's sort of a 2 steps forward, or not even 2 steps forward. It's a 1 step forward, 2 steps back type situation, because with lore spells and key portals being a thing, that is the 1 step forward. But let me tell you about the 2 steps back. The 2 steps back, the first one that we saw was the Arc 2 spellements. And these are things like Rebirth. These are things like the King Artorias spells. These are things like Leviathan and Stormowl. You've got your level 48, so, you know, things like Stormlord, your level 58s like Leviathan, 68s like Sirens, 88s like Stormowl, and your King Arts, which you get at the start of Chrysalis. It's like those spells are all upgraded with the Arc 2 spellements, and those are even more of a pain to farm. I would venture and say it is 3 times worse in terms of length to farm these up, because the bosses that you need to farm, you can't just one-round them. It's like you're not one-rounding Archmagus Lorcan, I promise. And, I mean, you probably could if you had a bunch of maxes helping you farm, but a bunch of maxes helping you farm, right? Like, think about that. So, yeah, it's like that's a whole thing, and then it's that, and the drop rate for those was cut in half. For no discernible reason. I really couldn't tell you why they were cut in half instead of doubled, because, you know, it's like the bosses take more than double the effort. It's like the least they could do is just double the spellment drops, but I don't know. KingsIsle is weird, and that's sort of just the bottom line on that. But yeah, it's like that's one of the steps back. That was the first step back that we saw, in that, you know, farming spellements is just so boring and time consuming, and no one likes it at all. And yeah, I mean, it's like you see things like my King Artorias, which I think I have at what, tier 2, tier 3, maybe tier 3. I think it's tier 3. Where is it? Yeah. Okay, so I have my King Art at tier 3, but I am missing out on 30 base damage, and this has been the deciding factor in matches before, where I have maybe had a guy on 200 HP when I take a King Art with, like, I don't know, Catch Blade, a Galvanic Field, and a Dark Wind up. That's 3 big buffs, and the guy tanks on, you know, like, 208 HP, and then he sends back, like, I don't know, a Myth Djinn, and it just murks me. So, Wiz, I guess. And it's like, if I had had my spell maxed out, I would have avoided that Myth Djinn and the Ela loss, the extremely punishing Ela loss, and I would have won the match and, you know, gained some. But because of how long it takes to get these and how mind-numbingly boring it really is, it's something where it's sort of like I've made it to tier 3 and I'm sort of content with that. So I think that's just where I'm gonna let it rest. So that's just how I feel about like the Arc 2 spellements. It's like they take forever to farm, and it's like it's like it does make a difference, because these are your heavy hitter spells. It's like if I were to take a Stormowl right now with, like, I don't know, a Catch Blade, it might do like, say, 7.8k. Let's say 7.8k, and let's say that my opponent has, you know, 8,200 health. So if I'm doing, you know, 7,800 with a tier 3 Stormowl, who's to say that I wouldn't be able to do, you know, that 8.2k with a max tier Stormowl? But I don't feel like putting in another, like, 20 to 30 hours worth of work sitting and mindlessly grinding Archmagus Lorcan, or, you know, Cantrip Chest and Azteca, or whatever the case may be, just so I can do, like, marginally more damage. It's like, it's that sort of thing where it's like, it won't cost you too many matches, but it is going to cost you some, and that is part of why, like, these spellements and how hard they are to get is a big problem in PvP. And it's something that I hope that they address sooner rather than later, because it's really just a pain in the neck to farm for these. And that is the first step back. And the second step back is, without a shadow of a doubt, it's going to be the Beast Moon spells. I don't know why there are Beast Moon spells with spellements locked behind the Beast Moon games. Hunt and Monster Mayhem. It's like Hunt is hell on earth, and Monster Mayhem, I mean, really for both of them, it's like if you're queuing without a good team, you most likely are just wasting your time. You're just throwing your time away trying to solo queue these. So it's going to take you forever, and it is just like the Arc 1 spellements, it's just like the Arc 2 spellements, it's just like the lore spellements. These take 685 spellements to go from tier 1 to tier 5, and yeah, I don't really think that's good. And if I were KingsIsle, I would try to do something about that to make it, I guess, better for the players, but you know, what can you do? What can you do? It's like having a card that could hit for nearly 500 damage for 4 pips and put a weakness on. It's like, this is just Lore Master, but better. But because I don't play Beast Moon, I don't want to touch Beast Moon with a 10-foot pole, I am never going to have this card. And there are, it's not too imperative for a Storm to have Thermic Golem, but for schools like Ice and Myth, it's like having Volcanic and Ether Golem. Those are extremely important spells for those two schools, because those are very important hit and shields. And then for a school like Death, it's like if you didn't get Headless Horseman, which I guess you technically can now, so you know, go for that. I have a guide from way back then too, from a year ago, detailing on how to farm Boom Ferrati the quickest. But it's like if you don't have Headless Horseman as a Death, then you have to use Dream Golem, and Dream Golem is, guess what, a Beast Moon spell. So it's like that's your hit and double weakness, and it's just, there's all these cards that it's like you need to do Beast Moon to get. You need, if you're a Death or an Ice, you need an anti-aura, because it's like trying to hit into a brace is like hitting with a pool noodle. And you know, for Death, hitting in general, well, Death and Ice hitting in general is like hitting with a pool noodle, but Death, you can actually get like the top half of Monster Mash. It can actually do a lot if you have the damage conditional met, but you need to get the spellements to really upgrade it to, or I guess as far as you can, and that's going to be a really good source of damage for you. Or if you want to take the anti-aura route, like Ice does with Thieving Dragon, you could do that too. And that's just sort of, it's like needing to play an entirely different game mode that is vastly different from anything else in the game. That is something that I don't think a lot of people are on board with, and is one of my biggest concerns in terms of spellement farming for PvP. And I think that if they were to make these spellements available from PvP, and not just like as a one-time, oh, you know, you can get 5 spellements, 5 lore spellements, or I guess Beast Moon spellements of your school through the PvP Battle Pass. It's like, rather than make that like a one-time thing, I would, like, rather than just the medals, I would say have spellements for, you know, your respective school drop from the PvP rewards. It's like that little gift box. It's there for a reason. You know, you might as well do that. And they've experimented a little bit with this in tournaments. Those don't actually drop any Beast Moon spellements, but it's like the tech exists, and that's what matters. I think that they can do this if they want to. It's just a matter of getting them to want to, and right now they don't want to. But if that changes, good on them. I think that's a good step that they can take, and that way they can, it can be 2 steps forward and only 1 step back with the Arc 2 spells. And there is the Event Spellement pack, but it costs 100 more crowns than the Arc 2 Spellement pack for some reason. I couldn't tell you why, but that's just what's up. And yeah, I mean, it's crazy times. it's crazy times that we live in with spellement farming, and it's just such a pain in the neck. And I hope KingsIsle does something about it, because that is one of the biggest parts that keep people from getting into PvP. It's like, if I were to ask y'all, and do comment down below, it's like, what is stopping you from getting into PvP? it's like put general unenjoyment of it aside for a moment, and just let me know what is keeping you from doing PvP. It's like, if you did want to get into it, what is stopping you? And I want to see what y'all have to say about that. It probably would have been a good idea to say something about that before I reach the 15-minute and 11-second mark in this video, but oh well. But I'm excited to see your feedback, and I would love to hear some of that. And who knows, maybe I can make a case to the devs. I'm certainly going to try, because the queue is so dead to the point where people are sniping at low rank. And more on that on Friday. Stay tuned. But hey, so the second big part of this that I want to talk about that has gotten worse in the past year is farming for gear. And I want you to take a look at me right now. How many things do you see on your screen that it's like, how many different places did I need to farm to get the set that I have on? And you know, pause the video, I'll give you 5 seconds to like think about it and answer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, your time's up. Officially, I had to farm 4 different things, 4 different places to get a gear set, and that's just what you can see. The hat and wand are both from the Crying Sky raid, which I had to not only get these dropped from Hunao, the hardest boss in the game, as well as join a guild that can consistently win at this raid, which not everybody can just do. It's like, it's much easier said than done. But you know, you've got things like the Xibalba hat and wand, both 170, so I had to get these dropped, and then I had to win 5 more times, 3 times so I could upgrade the hat, and 2 times so I could upgrade the wand. So that's where we're at. That is yeah, raiding is a drag, and you know, the hat and wand, that's and the Athame too. I did get this from the Crying Sky raid, so, and the amulet too, I guess, but more on that later. As well as the deck, but again, more on that later. So yeah, it's like I have a lot of raid gear worked into this setup, and this is the most optimal setup. For Storm at the moment, the stat caps are 207 damage and 59 pierce. I run the Clockwork Courser, and I still have not made a pet that has been able to substitute Spell Define for Stormgiver, and I mean, pet making is its own thing. It's like, pet making is another big part of the barrier to entry, but I went over that. I don't think it's gotten worse, but it certainly has not gotten better. But yeah, it's like, I had to farm so many different things to get the most optimal setup for this school, and that's just 1 out of my 7 characters. It's like, for all the others, I had to farm a bunch of different things. It's like, if I'm not using the Xibalba hat, that adds another thing to the tally. Like, I would have had to farm the Morganth rematch for Wastelander hat equivalents. I would have had to farm the Meow Yardi rematch for, you know, Skyfarer equivalents for the rings. So it's like, there's so many pieces in this game. It's like, you farm. It's like, so I'm wearing 4 things. It's like I said, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I got this from the Voracious Void raid, this from the Nightmare Dungeon, and this from General Lightbane in the last wood, a gold skeleton key boss. But if I really wanted the absolute best setup, and if I wanted to go for some extra critical block instead of outgoing on my Athame, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with the Squall King's Charm, which comes from Lambent Fire, which is a gold skeleton key boss, and it gives an extra copy of Steel Pip, which is very good for Storm to have. So that's another thing, you know. So 4, 5 with the Reaver Athame, dropping from the Doom Moon and Novus from the Invader fleets. 6 for the Squall King's Charm for that Steel Pip. 7 for the Meow Yardi rematches for this ring. And then I think I've already talked about this would be part of all that. Yeah, coming from the Voracious Void raid. And then you can't farm the Clockwork Courser, so I can't say that's 9. And then technically Lambent Fire does drop this exact same deck. So 8 is the final tally. So how about that? That is 8 different places that I have to farm, 2 of which are gold skeleton key farms, and those skeleton key bosses, they do drop spellements that I can use. I can use the Catalan spellements that I get from Lambent Fire to upgrade my Catalan to max tier, which I still don't have yet because Wiz. And then I can trade my Divum spellements over to my life, which I can farm from General Lightbane. So it's like, there's just so much to farm, and it's like having the best gear is pretty imperative because Ratbeard, Artie, and Cam and that general design team have stifled gameplay so much to the point where every school, it's like they have their own set way to play. It's like Healing Storm. It's like it's not gonna happen. It just isn't. I still have these because I haven't updated my deck at all. I just catch an Owl and I occasionally throw in a Catalan and maybe a Triton. So that's kind of it. But you get the general, I guess, gist of things. It's like Healing Storm. It's not as great, and then it's like I can only think of Fire off the top of my head that can do 2 different things, which one obviously being, you know, like Berry Rain, which is what I do, utilizing heal overtimes, and then the other is, you know, like just hit quick, blade, fuel, that type of deal, and maybe utilize an overtime here and there, but that's kind of it. It's like every school sort of has their own set way to play, and that is through the fault of the developers, and that means that people need to farm specific things now, and it's like things that come from all over. It's like that is going to understandably keep people out of the queue, and queue's already so small. It's like if people don't want to, you know, put in months of work, right, to farm for all of the gear, it's like they're just not going to get into queue, and that's why PvP is not doing so hot in terms of player count. So this is apparently water. I would not have guessed that. Anyway, I think that is going to wrap up. It's good to be making this video on the 1-year anniversary of the last time I made a video like this. So thank y'all for everybody who has supported me since that video, and hopefully I don't have to make one of these next year. That would certainly be nice if they solved some problems, but I'm not holding out hope. But for now, thank y'all for watching. I've been heyitsmax. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave like 50 comments for the algorithm. My Discord is down in the description if you want to chat with me some more, and I will see y'all later.